Hey everybody, Septhor here to find out how's the port of Mad Max. Mad Max is a game from Avalanche Studios and Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, released on September 1st, 2015, so it's been a little while. You play as a guy named Max, and you drive your car and you do some pretty mad stuff. It's pretty great. So Warner Bros. Doesn't have the greatest track record with their games. Remember Arkham Knight, Mortal Kombat 10, I guess Injustice on PC was okay. Avalanche, on the other hand, has a pretty great track record. I don't know about you, but Just Cause 1 and 2 ran pretty great. Mad Max did come out before Just Cause 3, so keep that in mind. Mad Max is actually a pretty great looking game too. I'm sure you're in a desert, so really there's sand, maybe like a ruined building, a little more sand, but there's wind as well, so that sand blows everywhere. Now, the dust effects in the game are spot on. They're done really well. And being a Mad Max game, it's pretty hectic at times. You've got explosions, fire, debris, people running around, some awesome combat, just chaos. And that stuff has been done really well, which is completely understandable since explosions, fire, and chaos is something that Avalanche is known for. Now, it's not out of the norm to find a game that looks nice, but how does this one run? I'm happy to let you guys know that they nailed this area of the game. At my regular resolution of 2560 by 1080, I'm getting well above 120 FPS. So what kind of graphics settings does Mad Max have? Well, a lot more than you might expect. You've got VSync, anisotropic filtering, geometric detail, shadow resolution, number of shadowed lights, texture detail, decals, motion blur, soft particles, SSAO, point light specular, anti-aliasing, parallax mapping on terrain, fog particle upsampling quality, depth of field quality, volumetric light quality, heat haze, bloom, and landscape debris. I don't even know what some of these mean. This amount of settings is fantastic. I know I love tinkering around with the way that my games look and run, so seeing this makes me very happy. I can customize exactly how I want the game to look versus how I want it to run. This also means that the game can scale very well, which I'll show you guys a little later. This doesn't mean that it can't be improved though. Both SSAO, which is ambient occlusion, and anti-aliasing are just on and off. They should have included multiple different types of ambient occlusion along with SSAO, even if it's just HBAO as well. Same goes for anti-aliasing, as well as just saying what kind of AA it is. It doesn't say if it's FXAA or MSAA or some other type. These are just some of the graphics settings that stick out to me. Really, it's just the only ones. So they did a pretty great job. So how big of a difference is there in the graphical presets in the game? As you can see here, it might not look like a whole lot, but the difference comes in the effects mostly. It's how the game looks while you're playing. At the lowest settings, you don't have as good lighting quality, the sand doesn't really blow around like it does at max settings, explosions and fires don't look quite as nice. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't look good, because even at the lowest settings, I think this game is very good looking. Now, how does it run? To benchmark this game, I ran all three presets, as well as maxing out all settings, since that isn't one of the presets for some reason. And since it's a very, very well optimized game, I did all this at 4K. With the normal preset, I managed 51 FPS average, at high, 53 FPS, very high, 42 FPS, and max settings 43 FPS. 4K is very taxing, so these results are fantastic. I'll admit they might not be the most accurate benchmark since my benchmarking method wasn't 100% reproducible. I would basically drive around, take down a scarecrow or a sniper tower, and hopefully find a couple of cars to take down. The benchmark was 2 minutes long. Every time I ran it, it was pretty similar, but maybe it took longer to find a scarecrow, or it wasn't quite as brightly lit, or maybe one or two cars instead of 5 or 6. So with all this in mind, the results are pretty much exactly where I would expect them to be. As I've been saying, I tested this game at 4K, which means it's not capped at 1080p. It also has support for ultra-wide resolutions, which always makes me very happy. On top of this, the frame rate is also uncapped. This makes everyone, regardless of monitor, happy. 4K monitor? You're covered. Ultra-wide? Good. 144 Hz? Awesome. Couldn't ask for more in this regard. With all these graphical settings in mind, the game scales very well. It runs fantastic on a high-end machine, but you shouldn't have much trouble on medium or even low-end machines either. Which is great, since I think it's an underappreciated game that's definitely worth trying out. Controller support in the game is also great. It has native support for not only the Xbox controllers, but DualShock 4. Just plug it in and the prompts will change to the buttons on that controller. No need to use another program to emulate an Xbox controller with your DualShock 4. Oddly enough, in the options for the controller, if you're using the DualShock 4, the prompts change, but the controller shown is still the Xbox One controller. Little weird, but, I mean, it works. For those using a Steam controller, it doesn't have native support, but it does support simultaneous mouse and gamepad. This is the settings used in the developer recommended bindings, so they put in the time for that, which is great. Sadly, the game does not support rebinding gamepad controls. There's an alternative layout for both on foot and driving, but that's the only change you can make. Keyboard controls are also done very well. I'm not one who enjoys driving with a keyboard, but I mean, it works. The on-foot controls are done well as well. Everything is bound the way that you'd expect it to be. It also allows you to rebind all controls for your mouse and keyboard. This is a must when using a keyboard and mouse in my opinion, since I always change a couple of controls that are usually on the keyboard to the extra buttons on my mouse. I'm sure some people do as well. So rebindable keys is a must. Avalanche Studios did a great job with the PC port of Mad Max. The graphical settings you expect to be there are, as well as lots of extra ones that allow you to get like that nitpicky design of making it look exactly how you will. It supports high resolutions, high frame rates, and non-standard resolutions as well. The game is also extremely well optimized. I get an average of 43 FPS at 4K max settings. There's really not a whole lot I can point out that I'd change to make it better. Maybe let me rebind my gamepad controls and more ambient occlusion methods. That's about it. Developers, if you want to see how to make your PC ports, check out Mad Max because it does it right.